Hi and welcome to this look at the February weather outlook. That's a chart from the big freeze of February 1991. I actually remember it very clearly because it coincided perfectly with my 21st birthday. People who are old enough may also remember the wrong kind of snow. That was the explanation given for the extensive disruption to railway services across much of Britain. Now, can we expect something like that this month? Well, it's actually a very, very tricky call to make. But let's have a look. I'm going to start by showing the sequence for Europe and the North Atlantic to give you an idea about what's happening in the short term. Here we go. This is 09 GMT, Tuesday, the 2nd of February. We've got an area of rain, sleet and snow edging northwards across the UK, and that's actually marking the boundary between cold air over the north of the country and much milder air in the south. It's like two seasons in one day. It's also, along that boundary, bringing some very, very heavy snowfall, and that's likely to continue at least for a little while. So let's take a look at the sequence. Here we go. So into 00 GMT, Thursday the 4th of February. By then, not a great deal has changed. You can see there's still the risk of heavy snow across Scotland, perhaps high ground in northern England as well. We've got this area of low pressure centred over Ireland, which is driving things. We've got the milder air coming into southern and central counties, and the cold air remaining in situ across the north. Hence this big contrast in the weather across the UK. I'll continue it a little further. So we're heading through Thursday, Friday, and things are beginning to change by the weekend. 12 GMT, Saturday, the 6th of February. It's quite a complicated picture. We've got the cold air still across northern Britain, and by then some of it's beginning to filter southwards. You may just be able to see there's some white shading here over Wales. That's indicating a possibility of some sleet or snow, probably over the Welsh mountains by Saturday. Also little bits, patches there into northern England as well. So things are beginning to change. By this point, forecast confidence is already falling. It usually is possible to be confident further than this, but it's quite an unusual situation this time. I'll just play it further, and we're going to stop it just here. 15 GMT, Sunday the 7th of February. I'm not taking it any further than this. By then, what we can see is the cold air making further inroads southwards. We've got lots of white shading across the northern half of the UK. I think probably find this forecast chart's quite low resolution, so I don't think the snow is going to be as extensive as that. It's really highlighting the potential for sleet or snow across the northern half of Britain. So that's covering the first week of February. What then happens becomes extremely uncertain, but let's start off by taking a look at the 16-day GEFS data tables. This one is for London, and it's showing 850 HPA forecast temperatures from every run in the GEFS Ensemble model for each of the next 16 days. The way these work is essentially the Ensemble has 30 different perturbations, as they're called. Each one is the same model, but it's had the starting data conditions tweaked a little bit in it to help account for uncertainty in the current state of the atmosphere. What we can see here is the purple blocks indicate the colder upper level air, and you can see in the short term, as we saw in that sequence, it begins relatively mild in the south. By the time we go through Thursday, Friday and into Saturday, there is a tendency for colder air to begin filtering southwards. We can see this purple column showing 13%. That's suggesting 13% of runs will be forecasting upper air temperatures to be -4 Celsius or lower. That increases on Sunday to 55%, and in brackets here we can see, hopefully, it says 6%. The 6% is the number of runs which is forecasting deep cold, and that's quite an arbitrary definition. What it means in terms of this plot is upper air temperatures below, at or below -10 Celsius. It's quite a good benchmark for the UK. By the 8th, that increases to 13%, and then by the 9th, it actually decreases, and we can see these purple columns by the 10th, the 11th, they're becoming smaller. That's indicating that that milder air or less cold air is probably beginning to return. I'm going to move across to the Aberdeen one to contrast it with the London one. What we can see here is by Saturday, we've got 77% of runs in the purple cluster. 16% of those are bringing in -10 C or lower upper air temperatures. By Sunday, look at this, we've got 100% of them in the purple cluster. And of those, 71% bring in -10 C or lower. So there's a really strong signal for this deep cold air mass to affect northern parts of the UK during this period. So effectively, it's saying it's the further north you go, the greater the likelihood of this deep cold air mass making it to you. And here on this plot, the cold or very cold conditions look likely to continue through the 8th, the 9th, the 10th of February. Things start to change as we go through the middle third of the month. We can see by the 11th, the 12th, only 45 or 48%, so just under half of the runs are still in that purple block. We've got lots more going into the blue block, which indicates values between 0 Celsius and -4 Celsius at the 850 HPA level. Remember, that's about 1,500 meters above sea level. So it's indicating the cold beginning to ease through the middle third of February. This is the 5-day, days 0 to 5, 500 HPA GEFS anomaly chart, and this is the mean of all the runs in the ensemble. Effectively, you can think of it as showing pressure anomalies. It's not strictly the case, but let's just stick with that for the moment. What we can see is days 0 to 5 is a lot of blue shading over the UK into the south, indicating lower than average pressure being the most likely scenario, with oranges over Iceland and Greenland and to the north, indicating higher than average pressure being the most likely outcome. That's important because if I now show you the next chart, which I'm going to skip the days 5 to 10 and go straight to the days 10 to 15, you can see things initially may not look a great deal different, but I think the change here is that the negative pressure anomaly has moved, the centre of it's moved further west, and that's possibly beginning to indicate the likelihood of low pressure perhaps being centred out here somewhere, and we could be seeing milder air feeding into southern and central parts of the United Kingdom on a southwesterly flow, with the colder air across the north coming in from the east or the southeast, northeast, something like that. And it does, again, it's offering some support for this split scenario, a split south to north scenario with cold weather or very cold weather, or a period of it being much more likely in the north than it is in the south. I'll just quickly show you the 16-day London GEFS ensemble plot. I'll not focus too much on the upper air temperatures because we just looked at those in the data tables, other than to say that there is a big split showing up very quickly. From about the 7th of February, the maximum value is +5 Celsius, and we've got values dipping down to about -12, -13. So we're quickly seeing a range of about 15, 18 Celsius developing in the forecast upper air temperatures. So taking all of those runs into account, it shows a dip below the 30-year mean, below the thick black line here, around about the 6th or 7th of February, but not a big dip below, just slightly below average, and then it actually picks up, and the purple line, which indicates the mean of the GFS, it actually goes above the 30-year average there, and it stays there for the rest of the period, which goes out to the 18th of February or thereabouts. I've annotated this, and I've said in brackets lucky dip, because there is a big spread and there is this cluster of much colder runs, indicating that a colder scenario even in the southern half of Britain is a very distinct possibility. It's not the favoured one according to the GEFS, but it's a possibility. Just quickly looking at the precipitation forecasts along the lower part, we can see there's an ongoing risk of rain through the next 16 days. The snow row values, remember, those can have a maximum of 33, which would indicate that all the GEFS runs, the GFS operational run and the control runs, we're all forecasting snow to fall down to ground level. The values for London never go above 9. So we've less than a 33% chance of snow falling on any given day according to this plot. So it's pretty mixed in the south. Just looking at the comparable one for Aberdeen, and again, I won't spend much time on the upper air temperatures, but you can see quite clearly how they are forecast to be well below the 30-year mean, the thick black line, for until about the middle of the month, when they do recover. Precipitation wise, across the lower part of the plot here, it's a wet picture. There's plenty of precipitation in the atmosphere, and lots of the runs are indicating that will be falling as snow at times. You can see the snow row values there. Look how high they are compared to London: 30, 31, 27, back up to down to 12, but then back up to 28, 31, 30. It really is. It's really painting a north-south divide here in terms of UK's weather. I'll show you now why there's so much uncertainty in this picture, and why there is a significant chance of a very cold period even in the south of the UK. Okay, here we go. This is the GFS model, which is essentially, we've been looking at the GFS Ensemble up to now. This is the operational run from the Ensemble, but it's pretty representative of what many of those individual runs are currently showing. And it's for 00 GMT, Tuesday the 9th of February. Up to the north of the UK, we've got this bitterly cold air. This is the easterly flow going across Scandinavia, up towards Iceland, and just really affecting affecting Scotland, where we can see the blue shading. Across much of England and Wales, we've got this area of low pressure, and there's milder air circulating around it by then. So it would be not a wintry picture, and that's really fitting in with the ensembles which we've been looking at so far. Now, an alternative scenario, which has been shown by some of the other computer models, is this. This is from the ECMWF model, the European equivalent you can think of to the GFS, which is run in the United States. And here we've got the easterly flow further south, and it's pushing right across the UK, with the milder air further to our southwest. As you can see, I've annotated it here. The -10 850 HPA line is here. It's covering virtually the whole of the United Kingdom, just parts of Cornwall a little bit milder there. But it's really a very cold picture, and it does draw some parallels with the February 1991 freeze, which I discussed at the outset. Well, is the ECM on its own? Not entirely. Here's the Canadian GEM model. Again, it's for the same time period. It's 00 GMT, Tuesday the 9th of February. And we've got this bitterly cold air. It's slightly different to the ECM. If anything, the cold air's just nudged a little bit further northwards, but it's much, much closer in what it's showing to the ECM than it is to the GEFS ensemble suite. So this would also be suggesting a very cold period of weather. With winds coming in from the east, snow would be most likely in the eastern parts of Britain. We may be seeing features coming up from France, from a near continent, bringing a risk of more persistent spells of sleet and snow into the southeast of England, southern Britain more generally perhaps. It certainly would be a likely scenario if this pattern becomes established during the second week of February. So I'll say that at the moment, because most of the GEFS ensemble is showing the less cold pattern in the southern half of the UK, would have to say that's probably the favoured outcome, with the really cold conditions being restricted to the north. I'll, at the end of this presentation, try to attach a percentage chance of those different scenarios happening. What about the second half of February? Well, the GEFS 35-day plots give some guidance, but because of that big level of uncertainty before the second half of February, again, I would attach lower confidence to this outcome than would usually be the case. So this one's for London. It's actually running off data which is a day older than the 16-day plots. That's because it takes 24 hours for this 35-day run to 24 hours for it to complete. So effectively, it was initiated with data from a previous day. In this case, Monday, the 1st of February. Interestingly, you can maybe see that it goes for a much colder period in the south than the latest 16-day GEFS runs do. So that's high. It really, again, adds some weight to the uncertainty which is present in the medium term. But if we just focus on the second half of February and take it at face value, it's showing upper air temperatures to be close to a 30-year mean. Sometimes they're dipping a little bit below, and as we go into March, they're dipping below the 30-year mean. I would say that it'd be difficult to conclude too much from this, other than to say that with that really cold mass of air to the north and east of the UK, you would think the likelihood of cold incursions during the second half of February is higher than it is than is usually the case. If I jump up to the Aberdeen plot, again, what we can see is more focus on colder conditions than in the south. In fact, throughout the month, the mean of the GEFS stays below the 30-year average. It's the purple line is staying below the thick black line through the second half of February. In fact, as we go into March, the anomaly actually increases quite a lot. So again, that's adding more credence to the theory of the cold being more dominant across the northern half of the UK than in the southern half of the UK, where a more mixed picture is being favoured. Just quickly to show you the weekly 850 HPA anomaly charts. This one is for the week beginning the 22nd of February. By then, you can see that there is forecast to be colder than average upper level air to the north and to the east of the UK. Again, quite consistent with the general theme that I've been discussing. There's no real anomaly to the southwest across Northern Ireland, Wales. It's very, very much close to the average by then. But do remember that these charts are taken aggregating the data for the week as a whole rather than just looking at individual days. So you could theoretically have cold days offsetting milder ones through this period, and that really is very much the pattern which has been shown for the second half of February based on these charts at the moment. Okay, to summarise, February begins very mixed. It's cold in the north with a risk of heavy snow, but it's a lot milder in the south with showers or longer spells of rain. Towards the end of the first week of the month, the cold around the north filters southwards, at least for a time. Then things quickly become very uncertain. On balance, perhaps with a 55% chance, the outcome is for the southern half of the UK to be quite changeable with wet weather at times, whilst the north remains cold or very cold with an ongoing risk of sleet or snow. The alternative scenario, with about a 45% chance of happening, is for a bitterly cold easterly flow, a beast from the east style weather pattern, becoming established across all of the UK, at least for several days. If that happens, snow would become widespread in eastern Britain and possibly the southeast. During the second half of the month, the signal is for rather mixed conditions, but with cold air remaining close to the north and the east of the UK, the chance of some wintry spells is probably higher than usual. So there we have it. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thank you very much for watching now. Bye.